I think it's appropriate to at least, have some discussion with people that are here. We won't keep you that long. I think there's enough representation here where we can at least put some ideas out on the table that what's been happening, and we can go from there. But it is a struggle getting forums for any group at this point, but it is what it is. So I'll just leave it at that. And for the sake of moving forward, we do have a change in leadership, as I've alluded to, and Jim Williamette and Tim Deal are co-chairs now of this committee. A little bit of a change from the past. It's, like I said, it's a building membership council subcommittee, and the idea is that more integration with the councils would be in order, and that's why Tim came into play from the fire service. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing to have that that representation here. Yeah, so I'll just leave it at that, and then I will. What I'll do is I'll pull up the roster and we can look at that. But I'll just leave it to Tim and/or Jim. Let's call it to order and start.
Sure. Tim, do you want to do the honors, or would you rather I? It's George Horsepiece.
Hey, it's still the building official, so you go right ahead, and we'll work it from there.
Thanks, Tim. I appreciate that. I would like to call today's meeting to order for building officials continuity, I believe is what it's called. Should be code officials continuity, but oh well. With that, Bill, if I could have a roll call of the current roster, and if you guys could, when you say yay, say your name also, I would appreciate that. Do you want to start out with our roster?
13. Yeah, sure. I'll do that. So I've put the roster up on the board here. It may have changed. So typically this council has been made up of 13 liaisons. Some of them are chairs, some of them are vice chairs of various councils. As it turns out now, some also served previously as liaisons for a council. So without trying to get too confusing, I'm trying to maintain, 13-ish people on this group. And so Mark, I don't necessarily think, so we have BMC liaisons, but that would include, that would be you, the vice chair, Mark. So that does maintain you as on the committee. So Mark is here. I don't see Tom Allen. The Global Membership Council liaison from the Building Membership Council is vacant now. Judy, that's because Jeff Griffin, yes.
Yep.
Has resigned from the Building Membership Council. So we need to replace, and Ed Lasinski as chair of the BMC is aware of that. We hope to do that at our next meeting and appoint a liaison. So that's that. Robin Yoakum did indicate she could not make it today. Doug Wise is not here. Eric Woods, not here. I have Jim, I have Don, and I have Tim as here. Kevin Gore, I don't see anybody from Emerging Leaders. Maurice is on the committee, Pat Tomasino, and Sam Palmer. So just 4 members of the 13 committee members. However, we could slide Christine over as fire service as being there. We certainly have who else? Sam Steele and well,
Sure. Godfrey could go in under a global membership. I assume that's what you're here for.
Yep. Jeff, yes. That's good. So I'll slide those over, and that will give us a quorum. Let's call that a quorum, right? We can be judicious on that end. Myself is here. Jim Sitka is here as well from PMG. Judy Zakreski from Global, and parts unknown. Judy, you have many titles, but we'll serve you as global today, staff liaison. And of course, it looks like we have one board of director joining us, Jim Sayers. Welcome, Jim. How are you?
Doing great. Happy to be here.
Just for the sake of discussion here, I think we're clear on, as I'm sharing the screen, the roster. And, you know, some people are here, some aren't for various reasons. But I point to, you all should have this in the meeting items that were included as an attachment. So if you get a chance to look at this, just maybe scan this, make sure that there's information here that is or isn't appropriate or not accurate, and that's easy enough to change. As is the liaisonships for each of the councils, which I always include. You know, for me, again, this is more about sharing of information, regardless of who serves in what capacity. And I know we tend to spend a lot of time on that, but for the sake of that, these are the people that get notifications of our meetings. And of course, these are the staff liaisons officially assigned, but they fluctuate from time to time. So I'll just leave it at that. And if anybody has any questions or comments, we could go from there.
Hey, Bill, it's Judy. I just wanted to correct something on Maurice's location. He's actually from Maryland, and he's also the chair of the Nigeria chapter. He's not from Dubai. That must have been a holdout from, or a leftover from Imad many years ago.
Ah, okay. So
You beat me to the punch, Judy. I was going to say exactly the same thing. Always ahead of me.
I would say like MD/Nigeria, maybe for him.
well, what is it? MD?
Yeah, Maryland. He's actually based in Maryland, but he's also
Ah.
the chair of the Nigeria National Chapter.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's it. That's good to know. I'll make that change. Thank you.
Thanks.
That's good. And he usually joins. He must be busy today. He joins most of our calls, membership council calls as well. So good on him for that. Okay. We'll continue.
Okay, with that, do we have any other announcements or change to the agenda? Did everybody get a chance to look at the attached agenda? Looks like we had two of them we needed to approve, huh?
So yes, the August 3rd, which goes way back to last year, we haven't had a quorum. I'm sorry, for whatever reason, as I have listed there, if you note that the September 18th meeting, there are no minutes. That was a meeting that was at the ABM last year in Pittsburgh. I was not there, and I don't recall there being any kind of minutes or formal meeting to speak of. So
No, there wasn't. It was more of a get together. We didn't actually have a proper meeting
right.
of the group.
And then more recently, the January meeting for this group turned out as did not have a quorum. So I didn't even put that on here. So the August 3rd would be the only one. But yeah, I mean, we could approve those. They are attached, I believe. But I mean, really, a lot of it won't be relevant here at this point, but it's your call.
I would ask that we have a motion to approve the August 3rd minutes that were attached.
On Mock, so move.
I'll second it, Tim.
Thank you, Tim. With that, we'll move to old business and new business. Start out with some meeting dates. Bill, I didn't pick any meeting dates on the calendar. I know that you typically have some meeting dates already set up, and you guys usually talk about that, so I'll just kind of listen in on this one.
Yeah, so we originally talked about meeting, so look, it's hard to gauge when we should meet. Inevitably, a council meets the day after or just the day before, and somebody doesn't get there. So, I think if I remember right, Mark Matheny, we had originally set, I think, yeah, I don't recall, Mark.
See, always on reporting.
Tim,
Yeah.
but Tim, and as the coach, you certainly can set a meeting date anytime you like. I mean, everybody works better, I believe, with set meeting dates, right? Set meeting
Mhm.
days and times, and this has kind of traditionally been where we're at, Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern time. But going forward, we can meet anytime.
Yeah, and that was always the question mark. And I know way back when we started again, it was one of these where when building went to the every other month, this was going to be in between, so that we could try to capture all the membership councils, in that period of time.
Yep.
I think it, like Bill said, it's been a struggle because it wasn't really an established date. So I really think that the sooner we can establish a date, whether that's every other month, maybe until the ABM this time, do we need to meet a little bit more often just to get the matrix up to date, get the new liaisons, and kind of have a good framework for when, moving past the ABM. That's kind of what I'm looking towards the future of getting that framework established and getting the dates established so we have a calendar moving forward.
So Tim, what you're thinking is, since we're in June now, we're going to skip July, have an August meeting, and then September we're at the ABM. So realistically, we're going to get one more meeting in if we're looking at it that aspect, which I'm totally okay with. But that's where we're going to have to really work with our liaisons and get them up to speed.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I was at too. And it was like, July, we all know July is a terrible month to try to have a meeting. With everybody's vacations, with all the schedules, most places kind of let summer go. And I feel like that's where we are. Even August may be tough to get everything, but I definitely think we need to meet again. If we want to keep it to the first part of August, that's fine. And then, at the ABM, hopefully we'll have everything set up. We'll have a good set of liaisons coming on board. We can kind of revamp the matrix in between and have that updated and have something to move forward with on an established basis.
So we're talking July or August 3rd, which is the first Wednesday. August 10th is the second Wednesday. Should we say the second Wednesday of the month, or should we go to the third Wednesday of the month, the 17th?
Personally, I'm good with the first or second because that gives us a month before ABM.
Sure.
I
Let's
don't
look
want to
at
get
August 10th.
That's fine.
So just again, a problem. I'm actually on vacation that week.
Oh, no, Bill.
Bill.
Yeah, it's gonna get me in trouble. I know that, but I apologize.
That's fine. No problem. Should we shoot for the first Wednesday of the month, or you want to do the third then?
Yeah, no, let's go to August 3rd and see what do we got.
All right, we'll shoot for August 3rd.
So on all of that note, right? So this has been the challenge. This has been the challenge getting a consistent date. Uh, Really, what I'm starting to find with this particular group is, like I said earlier, we're all busy. We all have commitments. The idea that we can all get together and share, really, because what this group really needs to be about is the sharing of information, the sharing of what's happening in your world. So setting a meeting date, whomever comes on the call who is appointed, if we can get the councils to get a representative from each council that's representative, who's willing to take that information back to their respective councils, I think we're serving the purpose of what this committee was intended to be all along. Originally, Chris Young, as I always give credit to, it was Chris's brainchild to do this way back when I started. as the staff liaison, and I thought it was a good idea. So the next item kind of jives with what I'm trying to say here. This whole reporting structure that Chris developed really tends to get monotonous, and frankly, we don't necessarily follow it to the way it was intended to be. So I'm really kind of rethinking the way this committee operates, obviously respectfully to the chair and the vice chair and to the members. I'm simply the staff person, but I'm trying to find a way that keeps this committee whole, but also relevant. And it's always been relevant. So that's not a challenge, because anytime we get on these calls, and shortly we'll get into each of the councils with some type of an update, that's always good. The fact that we can always meet at the ABM and or the mid-year hearings, or have been consistently, and having fellowship between the councils worked out very well the past few times, despite COVID. Prior to COVID, it was well received, and there was a fair amount of interaction. So this continuity and outreach subcommittee, as it's known, is doing the intended work, but to a little less formal degree than it was intended to be, which is fine on my end. You know, I'm glad to continue facilitating this. I think it's valuable, but I think the whole reporting structure discussion, setting meeting dates, I still think is important. I'm glad we set one for August, and we'll have it, and it will be it'll be a lot less of formality and more what's happening in your world. I mean, look, we have 10 people on today, or 11 people. There's no reason why we can't each spend a few minutes sharing our thoughts on what's happening in our council's world, so that that information can be disseminated and taken back to your councils for good reason. So that's where I think we may be headed. But if that's not the direction that Jim and or Tim or anybody would like to go, then please let me know. But going forward, I think that's probably the reality. I'll just leave it at that for you all now.
Appreciate that, Bill. So moving on down, BMC Initiative Matrix Council update. Bill, this comment you have right here, I assume this is the spreadsheet update that we talk about, or is that further down? There you go.
There it is. So there's the here's the matrix, and we talk about this at every meeting, and every meeting we get people committing, and most people are good to their commitments, and I'm appreciative of that. But they do tend to just kind of dry up, and they get redundant, or they're not necessarily up to date, excuse me, the way it needs to be.
Sure.
So maybe with a lot less formality, it's just going to be, let's make a commitment. And as I've said on the agenda, it does include joint events. And that was some discussion we had last time, to include all of the joint events we do. And I think frankly, that's what highlights the value of the councils for the board of directors, where they can see on the matrix of what we do collectively, individually, but more importantly, collectively, so we're not duplicating. At least I've seen that and heard that feedback. The only problem with all of that is that you can see this was last updated about 6 months ago, and
Yep.
it's still somewhat outdated. I would put it on the chairs, vice chairs, people on this call to take a look at it. Judy's been very good with it. A few others have been very good. Fire has been very good about updating the different initiatives that are happening. BMC, I will start to give credit to the group there, but yeah, this is a document that we not only pointed to during the annual reports that are due, but also some mid-year reporting came off of this. I know certain chairs may have used this to point to when they do their mid-year report, which is now a requirement for the board, and also a final report, a year-end report. So Yeah, I would just make an appeal here to the people that are on the call to take a look at it. It is posted on the website, and update it as need be. Whether
Well, and that's, Bill, I'm sitting here thinking, and maybe my suggestion would be, is perhaps it's worth sending out an email to the chairs and vice chairs, just to say, we're trying to revamp this, and we would, request their assistance to review just their portion of it.
Tim, apologies for interrupting you. You're broken up. You might try. You might try cutting off your
Eliminating the
video.
video. Yeah.
Yeah, you might lose your video, and that might be more helpful for us to hear you. But right now, you're coming in pretty jarbled.
Tim, are you there?
Yeah.
No, I ain't getting them.
So Tim, if you can hear us, you're pretty jarbled. Just feel free to keep talking, and when you come back to reality, we'll we'll let you just keep going.
So one of the things I think Tim was really trying to talk about is sending this matrix and also the link. I think it's very important when we send stuff out, if we're asking people to fill something out, to give them the link or the direction to where it's at. I know a few years back, I want to say it's 3-4 years back, I got some documents and I was asked to fill something out and I had no idea where to find the documents, and I spent 45 minutes to an hour before I finally gave up and called and got direction, and then I could go to where I was going. But so if something does go out, I would ask that we always have a hyperlink to where it's going, or at least a URL so someone can type it in.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so I will, based on Tim's jarbled suggestion and Jim following up with a less jarbled comment, yes, I will send out an email to chairs, vice chairs. I'll send it to the committee and make that point and include a link. That's a good point, Jim. I will definitely do that and make an impression upon them with this kind of revamping that we've just talked about. So, yes.
Thank you.
So I feel bad for Tim. I don't want to cut him off, but
No.
I don't want to.
Tim, are you back?
Yes, but I mean, WebEx is wonderful and Zoom and Teams, but when this happens, it's not so good.
Sure.
Apologies. Sorry, Tim.
Do we have any more we want to talk on that matrix, or do we want to go to 4.5? Getting better, Tim, but we just don't have it yet.
I'm going to mute him.
Yeah. Okay.
I can't even mute him.
There you got him.
I can't even mute him. Sorry, Tim. Maybe I have. I've muted him. It looks like. Yeah, he's got a bad connection. Tim, you have a bad connection. Yeah. Please unmute yourself, and we'll go from there. Yeah. Any other comments, questions on where we are up to this point? Okay, Jim. Carry on.
I'm good. All right. Next, I want to go to 5.4, Building Safety Month, the summary. I don't have a lot of summary on it. I'm hoping maybe I can lean over to my board member, Mr. Sayers. Hopefully you're still on. You can give us a little update on that. I know that you took a tour around the Tail of the Dragon, and that looked like a fun one. I missed it. I've been there a few times, so thanks for sharing that. But if you could talk about Building Safety Month, I'd appreciate it. Mr. Sayers? Jim?
I thought you were talking about Jim Straws, because I saw a picture of him on his bike on the Tail of the Dragon. So,
oh God, okay, it was Jim Straws, not you. I'm sorry. For some reason I thought it was you on your bike. See what happens when I
No.
spin through that stuff too quick? Oh, well,
Well, three-wheeled red motorcycle, so, you know.
it looked the same to me.
We both have one.
There you
So,
go.
Anyway,
Mm.
I don't have a lot to report about Building Safety Month. I was able to do a podcast with Cecilia Muela and Pete Roquet, and then was part of on the 8th day recording that Ron Hampton put out. Which, if you guys haven't listened to that, it's really pretty good. Ron did a great job writing that. But I'm new to my jurisdiction. I didn't get anything done here locally, so sorry I don't have much to report.
Great, plenty. I didn't do anything on our jurisdiction size either, other than we did get the mayor to sign the proclamation and the governor to sign it. And I know the chapter did a few things, but I wasn't involved with it. Anyone else have any special things happening on Building Safety Month they want to talk about?
We did a big reception in Canada and engaged a bunch of former and current ICC members from Canada, which was great, sort of re-engaging folks there. And the Gulf Standardization Organization, which is a global partner for Building Safety Month, did an Arabic webinar about the importance of building codes and talked about their sort of constantly imminent rollout of the Gulf Building Code. We're not holding our breath anymore, but it is based on the 2015, well, the 2018 Saudi codes, which are based on the 2015 I codes. But we don't know when they're actually going to start using them. But they did a webinar to educate the regulators in the region, which was great. And there is an upcoming webinar about water safety. That's sort of a Building Safety Month extension. That's going to be next week, and that will be in English. If anybody's interested, I can send the link to register to Bill, and he can circulate it. But it will be Dave Walls will participate along with one of a local engineer from the MENA region.
Great. Appreciate you doing that. Building safety is important, and getting out there, being able to do all of it, it's important too. I know that on the building side, it seems like building officials and building inspectors and building people just never have the time because we're so pinched on time trying to get everything else done. When we fit something in, it's a miracle. So, but when I was on the fire side, I always seemed to find the time, and I think the time was more appointed to me than me finding it. So that was one of the nice things back when ran the other side.
It's interesting. There was and what we find, Cindy Davis was in Canada with us, and we had a meeting with the building officials from several provinces in Canada, and a lot of the discussion was about how can building officials get sort of the how can they make their case for funding, support, recognition? And, Cindy's just nodding her head saying this is the same discussion that we have in the US. This is the same discussion we had that she witnessed in Dubai. And so I think that there's a lot of opportunity to kind of work together to that point. The point was that the fire officials get the respect and they get the funding. It's an easier play for them than building officials who are sort of under the radar. But they thought, maybe there's the opportunity to create a toolkit that could be used by building officials globally, regardless of what codes they're using, that, can talk about code change management, code change process management, and interacting with elected officials and also with communities. But it was, all of this we were there because of Building Safety Month, but we had the opportunity to interact with a lot of officials, and the stories are the same around the world. So, that's something that I think would be of great interest to the folks that we were talking to. And we do have 3 chapters in Canada only one of which is active. The other two didn't even realize that they were chapters. So we're working on that. But, I think as long as we can find something, and Jeff will attest to this, that, our global members, we have a lot of global members that are not using the I-codes, but they still find great value in participating in ICC because of these sort of issues that transcend the codes that you're using. So I don't know if that's an issue for this committee to work on together, or if if maybe the Building Membership Council wants to work with the Global Membership Council, on something like this, and we can get some of the international chapters involved. But that's, just throwing that out there, because it does seem like everybody's stretched thin and, looking for resources.
I know one of the resources that a lot of fire guys have is they've got programs already in the box that they could just go log on the NFPA or some of these other places, and they can grab the program. It's already all put together for them, and they can run. That's something that we don't really have on ICC side, is any programs per se in the box like that. So you make a valid point, and depending on which program you're going to reach towards, to which audience you're going to reach for, would make a big difference. But that would take resources from ICC. But maybe that's an idea that all the councils can talk about and say, is this something we could create a program that it could run from anywhere from plumbing side to building side to fire side to global side, and have something that would be an age bracket difference. So if you had an opportunity to go talk to some fourth graders, you got something maybe from second to sixth grade class, and from seventh grade high school, and then high school on above or something. I mean, that would, to me, that would help a building official have the talking points and a tool to be able to communicate to the classes with. So a lot of times I've been called, and it's like, hey, can you show up tomorrow? The person that we were going to have is not available, so can you fill in? And I'm like, hey, boy. And there I go. I do the big punt, but that's what it is, the big punt. And the other portion is trying to find the time. Of course, that's the other thing. When I take my time, I usually land up taking vacation day. So.
Jim, if I may add, this is Jim Seco with the PMG Membership Council, staff liaison. One thing I have noticed with this Building Safety Month, the involvement again with the Sustainability Membership Council, all their work in developing the little 5-minute videos and things to, that they post online throughout the course.
Yep.
There were several, 27 of them done this year. That's back in line with where it was prior to COVID. It dipped quite a bit during COVID, but all of those videos are available. You get them through the post through, their Facebook and stuff like that. But the ICC YouTube page, you can get all of the webinars that were done were videoed. I was going to say later, I was going to add in under the PMG update, the PMG group did 2 webinars during building safety during Water Safety Week. And those are all up on the ICC Media YouTube website. So like you're saying, if you were going into a school or something like that, there's a slew of videos, training videos that are accessible free of charge. And the point with that is you don't get CEUs for all of those courses, but they're usable to go in to anywhere in the pub. They're all public accessible and at any time. So those are all up there. Sustainability Membership Council, they have their own YouTube page, and all of their videos for the past 4 years are out there as well. So there's a lot of material that can be presented, depending on time allotment and stuff like that. But and again, it was nice from my standpoint to see Building Safety Month really step back up to the levels of participation that it was prior to COVID. I think we may be back. And that is all.
Okay, thank you. which I appreciate because you are right. It's very important. I personally, I don't know how to make one of those videos nor put it up there. So that's something that I'm hoping that some of the younger generation can show me, and it would help being able to know how to do that and be able to carry some of that stuff forward. So
Jim, I think Tim might be back with us at this point.
Tim, are you with us?
Yeah, I came back. I had to switch devices. So,
All right.
yeah.
So just
So my conversation basically was, reaching back out to those chairs and vice chairs with just their portion of the matrix. Just to touch base and say, hey, this is what we have on file. Is this still accurate? Not a detail update, not, anything more than, is this accurate? And maybe we do ask them, is there an update? And include the liaison just so they're aware, but at least that gives us a starting point for this matrix, because it is almost a year old. So that was my recommendation, my thought process, to kind of to revamp this, to have that for that August meeting.
I will, we did chat about that while you were garbled. But yes, I will definitely put that on my list, and I'll take care of that sooner rather than later. And include a link, as Jim suggested. Jim Williamette suggested providing the link so that they can actually get to it and see what's up there, and then modify it as need be.
All right.
Otherwise, I'm good.
Excuse for a couple of seconds. It's morning feed for my animals here, and they won't leave me alone until I go and top up the bowls. So I'll be back in a sec.
Thank you, sir. With that, we'll go down to the ABM schedule. As some of you aware, I'm sure you got the dates down. I've got them right here. If you need them, we're a second.
The schedule is out and
Yep.
registration is open, and those of you that have tried to register, you should all have the link as a council membership council governing committee member. I think what you might be finding is that some of the hotel rooms are already
Booked up.
full.
Mm-hmm.
I know we're working on opening up more rooms, is what I'm being told.
And Bill, just to clarify that, when you say the link, you're talking the link to the hotel, because when we're filling out the membership council form, typically membership council's always got a code, but there is no code this year. We are on our own for that portion of it, correct?
No, I sent the code out for registration, not for the hotel, but for registration.
Oh, you may need to send that to me again, Bill. I don't know if I got it, because I think
Okay.
I messed up my registration.
Okay, yeah, but yeah, what I was referring to is the standard code for governing committee members.
Yep.
who Get a free registration to the ABM. And I did send it out a couple weeks ago, but I will resend it. But I was then referring to the hotel situation, the challenges that are happening there. Just to be clear, so I will send that to you, Jim.
Thank you.
I'll make a note of that. And the other item to note is we're going back to the Wednesday morning meetings that we had prior to COVID and prior to Pittsburgh, which will then we'll need to coordinate our standard or our typical fellowship meal that we've had over the past few events. So I will get with staff on that, and we can decide on that particular add-in to our schedule.
So I do know that I'm in the same hotel, but I'm changing rooms 3 times. So just FYI.
Okay. Any questions on the BM schedule?
Hearing none, I'll move to the next one. The Bmc Bod Candidate Form. I know this was something that's been talked about for quite a long time. Last year we did not do this. I believe it's something that really should happen. A lot of times people, we don't get the opportunity to talk to our candidates much other than the little bit of reception areas and stuff like that, so we don't get to know them. Mark, Mr. Matheny, if you're on, I don't know if you want to cover on this one or not.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Yeah, and we have kind of been talking about it for a little while, you know, the overall, and that's why it's coming up at this meeting. Basically, the overall idea is that, you know, it would be basically a multiple membership council, a collaborative forum, basically. And, you know, the idea was that, you know, not to kind of create a Q&A like certain different regions do, different areas do as the candidates move through the process, but you know, maybe have some basic questions about how they see how they see, you know, kind of what Fire Service Membership Council moves toward, what Building Membership Council moves toward, how PMC is involved, and, you know, just kind of a rough idea as to where the candidates stand as far as the overall membership within the specific focuses of the councils, and just an open area where they could speak through that. And that was the idea behind it. It, you know, honestly, it's gonna be a somewhat of a heavy lift, and so I think a pretty heavy commitment would have to come out. At being that it's June, could we pull it this year to an early September? I think it would be difficult. I'm not going to say no, because ultimately, you know, there's a team on BMC that's also slightly looking at this, but I think it would be a real heavy lift to have something done before this year. But you know, once again, I think it's a great opportunity. And I think we should think seriously about it and what it would look like and what the framework would be, almost like it would happen this year, but realistically that it's probably going to happen, you know, next year. Because once we get to the ABM, you know, it is just full on. You know, the candidates are there basically starting on Friday. At least they were, you know, back in 2018. So they're there even before a majority of the people start coming in, because they're going through the board of director process. It's about a 3-day long interview and a mock board process and that kind of stuff. So when this would occur, whether you know, the reality of it is probably a video meeting, and you know, does it come 1 week, 2 weeks, a month, or something like that? So I think if people are in agreement with this, I think we need to like really start hashing this out and seeing what this looks like now for next year, honestly.
So, Mark, is your thought to put together a committee of some people, or are you looking for some volunteers to step up and do this? Are we looking to try to get a representative from each of the liaisons, ask someone from their committee to supply someone? What kind of elaborate a little more on what some of your thought pattern is on how we're going to put together people and what the form would kind of look like, if you could. I apologize for putting you on the spot, Mark, because you and I
No,
have not
absolutely.
talked about this,
Those
but
are great questions.
those are questions that I'm trying to figure out in my own head.
Yeah, no, they're great questions, and if you're thinking about it, everybody's thinking about it. So I appreciate you actually bringing it up. And honestly, at this point, like I said, I believe that we're pretty early on still, even though it's kind of been on the rosters. I think people should be, I don't know, I guess the first thing is, would different membership councils be interested in participating in this type of thing? I think that's the first big question. And if the answer is yes, and I hope it is yes, that that I think maybe a small team would build what that framework looks like, right? So let's kind of figure out what timing looks like in relation to the annual conference, and then, you know, what maybe a series of a dozen or 6 questions look like. And then is it basically, do you give everybody the questions? Do you have them up on a panel? Are the membership councils actually on the panel? And so So I think the logistics, the mechanics of it, I think takes a really smaller group. It might be, I don't know, 4 people, let's say, just for a random number. And then if that's, if we can build kind of that mechanics, then, and everybody in the different membership councils is interested, or a portion of them are, then we can say, here's how we expand that out. And I think so. So to answer your question, I think it takes a small core group to start with, and then maybe I think it's probably reasonable to say by the ABM this year we could say this is what we think this looks like, and let's start working on it from here all the way back around with more people, right? With whether it's the liaisons, whether it's the vice chairs, or whatever kind of group looks like this. But I think this is a good venue right now today to kind of open that up and talk about kind of what the concepts are, and then that way anybody can chime in whether there is an interest or not.
With that, I'll go ahead and open it to the floor to anyone that wants to converse on this more.
This will probably be my last little thing because I have to drop off here in a second. But I think if you're going to try to do this, or if we're going to try to do this, I think we're looking at possibly one member from each of the councils. I think that's your board. That's small enough of a group that you can coordinate. I don't know if it's directly going to be the liaisons, but it may be each council is contacted and go, we'd like to have a representative on this board, because I know it is important. The forum, the questions, we're all trying to figure out the same thing. So having it as one group that we can get the information and relay it back is even better. So I think that's, to me, in my mind, that's what I would suggest, is that we, get one from each of the councils that forms that forum, and then they take it from there and they can report back to the councils.
Like that, Tim. So so basically we're going to look for each council to go back and recommend a person for this position, and reach back to Mark and contact them, or reach back to yourself and I. How would you like to best do that?
I mean, I just put it all 3. That way we don't drop the loop.
Sure. I'm
Yeah.
totally okay with that. Okay.
Yeah. So just in the interest of time here, I know it's coming up on time. You gotta go, Tim, and I'd like to get some updates from everybody. The Building Membership Council put this idea out there way ahead last year, and for a lot of different reasons, it got pushed aside. We start doing this now, then we're gonna get pushed. So I like the idea of Mark, it being a Building Membership Council initiative, but pulling in each of the councils to discuss the parameters that are going to fly with ICC, and also candidates for board positions, because it can get a little dicey if we're not careful, but it does bear some discussion within the membership councils itself. But I think having Mark, makes sense, Mark, as being a Building Membership Council initiative, you as the vice chair, and of course you with nothing better to do these days, respectfully, and including Tim and Jim as well. But I think leave it upon you all, you 3, to solicit that. I'll put it in the minutes, I'll put it in an email, but at the same time, I think, if you all need a platform to facilitate a meeting to discuss it, certainly will come up at the Building Membership Council meetings, a discussion on this, and then it's a matter of really just pulling the people in and setting some parameters. So we'll go with that.
Sounds good. Tim gave us the big thumbs up, and I think he's going to leave us, which I can understand. We're running short of time. With that, Bill, if I could go around the room real fast and ask for some reports. I'm going to jump over to the liaison, start with the BMC.
Mark, I think that would be you as the BMC liaison.
Okay. Sorry.
Actually, Tom, it's really Tom, but Tom is not here. So yeah, I guess that goes back to my point on who serves as the liaison here. So we're a little bit, again, back to trying to stay on some type of a format, but
Sure.
not going to work. But Mark is here, and I think hearing from him would be appropriate.
Yeah, absolutely, and glad to do that. You know, as you hear here today, and have known about, you know, we're working on some transitional pieces, right? There's you know, there's a lot to go through for a number of reasons, but the good news is we took a little bit of a bumpy turn, but are in good place, right? Our three primary pieces are raise the profile, the continuity and outreach, and then basically community building best practices and innovation, CBBPI subcommittee. The best practices is working as they have been, but this year we're going to actually see fruition of this digital document about this best practices, right? So we've been working great with IAS and MJC. I think that document is actually going to exist at least by the time the ABM. I know it is. I know it's going to be a physical. I don't know. Can you be a physical digital product? I don't know. But anyway, it's going to be real. And
Seen Sam nod his head, so we're in good shape there, Mark.
Yep. So it is a real thing, and so that's great news for us. It's something we've been putting on for a long time, and just once again, just like anything, is you work. There's a lot of underground, there's a lot of foundation work to happen prior to it coming up. So and we've got some good momentum happening with our best practices. We've got some recognition letters, concepts, and stuff like that going on as well. So while we did have a little bit of a bumpy road, we've got some real good positive momentum going with BMC.
Great to hear, and I appreciate all the things you guys do on the BMC. It's a lot of stuff behind the scenes, but it does make a difference. So with that, fire services had to leave, I believe, so we lost Tim. So if I could slide Sam into the fire services slot for major jurisdictions, I appreciate that. Sam, I'm going to put you on the spot because I didn't make your last meeting.
Thanks a lot.
Hold that against you. No, we're alive and well and doing good. We'll have another conference call coming up here pretty quick. And the main topic will be homelessness. And Corey will be sending that email out to everybody, to the whole membership, advertising it here real quick. We're all set for ABM coming up. Like you were saying on the best practices, I've been talking with IAS. They're in fact, I just signed the cover letter for the best practices booklet that'll be coming out. And so, yeah, it'll be ready here pretty quick, definitely before the ABM. And we'll present on that. We need to coordinate, and we need to figure out a date and a time where we can actually do a best practices summary for membership and talk about it and show everybody what we found and what we're doing. But otherwise, MJC is moving ahead and doing well.
Great, I appreciate that. So then I'm going to jump over to TMG. Oh,
Jim,
go ahead.
But before you do that, Christine is here from the fire service, but
Oh, I'm sorry, Christine. I didn't know you were here.
but
I
I also wanted
apologize.
to back up for a second, and relative to the ABM schedule and building membership council reporting, I just got word relative to the training and the education that's going to take place at the ABM. Mark is gone.
Mark just had to go off.
But
Let me know.
we did get approval for our 7Cs class to be taught at the ABM. So I'm not sure if the other councils have put in for training, but we were approved for our BMC class just earlier today. So I wanted to make sure that got out there, and I wanted Mark to know particularly because I think he's actually going to teach it. He doesn't know that yet, but he will know soon enough, I promise. So I digress. It's Christine's floor.
No, thank you. I don't have a whole lot to report, but just to mention off of what Bill said, FSMC did put in some educational training options, and we did get approved for one class. It's a bit vague on the website right now. We believe it's the ESS class. So that's great. That'll be in one of the morning sessions. The other thing is just a reminder also, is as we're looking at a lot of things that impact the ICC membership, similar to what BMC is doing, as well as CNO to kind of get ongoing projects. We have that as well. So if anyone sees things that are up and coming in your area, or ideas that you want to pass through that may have an impact on the National Fire Service, please reach out, let us know. We do a lot of vetting and exploration about things that are coming in, whether it's technology, and then we try to work within our work groups and put things back out to the membership. And we're always excited to get anything that might have an interest or concern from any of the membership. So please feel free to reach out to us. So, but that's all I have today. Thank you, though.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So with that, if I may, I'd like to jump down to the PMG.
Well, I think I'm the only one here that can talk to PMG, so
Yes, you
I'll
are.
jump in. And going back to your comments earlier about the mid-year report and annual report to the board of directors, the PMG group does need the membership council does need to update that matrix. There's something we're doing new with the code notes is we're actually going through all current code notes that we've done in the past. We're going to update them to the 21 cycle so that anybody adopting that will have all the code notes, how they apply to that code. And we'll continue that moving forward. And then we'll only bring in a few new ones as needed based on new code coverage that's in the 21. So you'll be seeing quite a few added to that list and some things dropping off of the list. The other focus for the PMG Membership Council is this, you may have heard of the Four Corners campaign. It is something Gary Gauthier has taken the reins of, and it's to help build knowledge of the PMG codes in areas where we really don't have a huge chapter presence. And we're targeting like the four corners of the US to try to get the PMG Membership Council working with our government relations staff and folks in whatever areas we decide finally, we're going to determine that at our next meeting in July as to where those cities will be. But it'll be going out and trying to drive membership and just get our PMG Membership Council known to people out there and across the US. It's not as known as some of the other membership councils. And then going to the ABM, I found out yesterday we're going to have a Pmg Education Track on Tuesday the 13th at the ABM. So that will be a joint effort actually with the ICC Pmg team and Matt Wynn and his brothers from Wynn CE that recently joined ICC. It'll be a joint effort and training on the PMG codes. So you can look for information on that to be coming out.
Great to hear. So thank you for all you do.
Oh, thank you.
With that, do we have anyone from okay. Sorry, work hit me up with emails and questions. Do we have anyone from the ELMC on there? I don't believe we do.
I believe so now.
So with that, I will turn it over to Global.
Hi, and look, I might get Judy to pipe in and help me here because I was an apology to our last meeting. Essentially, the projects you see on the matrix are still, most of them are ongoing for us, but some of them are really, that have been there for a while, are starting to come to fruition, particularly in relation to the sister chapter program. We've now got formal applications from the Nigeria chapter, and I believe they're working with the DC chapter to sort of foster relationships between some of the global chapters and sort of land-based chapters. The other things we're really working on is a bit more inwardly focused for the council, and that is certainly looking at the value proposition. We've now got a formal working group together on that. It's had their first meeting. It's about value of joining this council. I'm trying to attract some more global members Essentially, you know, we've got a lot of land-based or US-based members, but we significantly down on global members who's really our focus. And with that as well, at the global, at the ABM, we've actually got a working group together to look at getting some activities specifically to support global members. You know, some of the things like, you know, particularly for, you know, I look at myself when I come over to the US, I want to go out and see what's happening around there. I want to go and talk to building departments, you know, locals on the ground. I want to understand what's happening in the US. So we're trying to put some stuff together that's specific for, you know, for global visitors that come to the ABM, and certainly again sort of mentoring those people, introduce them to the US process, introduce them to the code hearings, and show the process that happens for the code development in the US. Our outwardly focusing stuff, our webinar series, we're still working on those. We've recently had one hosted by Ron Lynn on soft skills. And we've got an upcoming one, I believe, on wood construction. I think that's due this month. It's June now. Yes, it's due this month. So that's sort of where we're working. And Judy, if you want to pipe in and top that up for me, thanks.
Sure. The sister chapter actually, I guess Nigeria and DC have been working together informally, but they're not, neither of them have submitted an application. So the application was received from Kenya, and we've partnered them up with the Virginia VBCOA. And they, at the last meeting that Jeff missed, the Global Membership Council Governing Committee actually approved they gave the blessing to move forward, and the VBCOA approved the moving forward. And we actually finally have the kickoff call next week. So that's exciting. We will be moving forward the working group that Jeff mentioned to work on the global track at the ABM did put forth some suggestions that the governing committee signed off on, and that went to through me to our event planning staff, and it looks like we're going to be able to pull off all of them. So there will be activities that are designed to help global attendees integrate with US attendees and US attendees who are interested in global building safety issues to be able to interact. So there'll be like a networking lounge and some specific meetups planned. We are going to be looking at a building department visit, and we do have a special education session on Wednesday morning between the Global Membership Council meeting and the start of the code hearings, or maybe overlapping the code hearings at the beginning to give sort of an overview of the code development process. And Shirley Ellis has volunteered to teach that. The value proposition question and subcommittee that Jeff mentioned is really that's really critical and a high priority for ICC also. But unfortunately, the people who are chairing that working group have not put a meeting together. So Jeff, we might need to look at appointing new leadership to that working group, because it really is important, and they haven't been responsive. So that, I did get a lot of input in Canada also. So I think that there's a lot to do and a lot to think about. And then I do, to Jeff's point, need to update that matrix. I haven't updated it lately, but we do have a lot of similar activities, but there have been some developments that we can count as wins as we move forward. And the wood construction webinar is going to be in the second half of this month. I'm working on with Annie Lou von Meisner to set the date. She's going to be the moderator, and she's working on putting it together. So that's all in process, but there's a lot going on, and I think more than in past years, and looking forward to maybe also putting together an article for the BSJ based on some of the prior webinars that we had, to kind of, for people who didn't watch them, to kind of report out and provide resources.
Perfect. Thank you. With that, sir, I believe that was all the reports. So, Mr. Nash, I would like to turn the meeting back to you, sir.
Sustainability, you still have
Oh,
sustainability.
I missed the sustainability. There it is.
Hey, thanks everybody. Just coming out of Building Safety Month, and our video series that we put on throughout the month looks to be a great success. We'll be getting together and looking at those final numbers. Thanks to Hope Medina and Josh Harmon for all their hard work on that. Plus all of you. We thank all of you because we couldn't do this without all the other membership councils. And so that's always our big thing this time of year. When we were in Rochester, we were talking about trying to improve our education outreach in regards to the energy code and the green code. So more to come on that as we work on those initiatives. And that's all I have to report at this time.
Thank you so much, Don, and thank you for taking the time to bring that back to us. I know that it's hard to be in both meetings at once, so it goes a long ways for myself and everyone else in the meeting today. So thanks, and thanks to you all for doing that. To be honest, it's a task being able to hold both meetings and carry the information back and forth sometimes. So with that, Mr. Nash, I will turn it over to you.
No, I think you're good. I think a good meeting to get some information out, maybe some revamping as we've talked about earlier, but some good info from each of the councils and the major jurisdictions committee, and some other items to note, some stuff to build on for sure. Matrix sounds like there's some committed people for that. So all good. I think it's just a matter of following up on those, which I will. And I guess you would say a motion, so somebody would need to make a motion to adjourn.
Can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved from Don Mock.
Thank you, Don. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it. With that, we are adjourned. Thank you again for all your time today, guys. Stay safe.
Thank you all. Everybody be safe. We'll talk soon for sure.
Bye-bye.
Have a good one, Bill.
Take care. Bye-bye.